I had a pretty normal childhood in some regards, but I think in other regards I made myself small. My mom was raised in a house with a schizophrenic father, and back in the 1950s there wasn't really a word for schizophrenia. So she had a ton of PTS, untreated trauma, and that was brought into the house as well. I think a lot of people say, did you know what you were getting into when you got married? I absolutely did. I knew who I had and what I was walking into. I'm Jen Satterly. I am the CEO and co-founder of All Secure Foundation. I grew up in St. Louis in kind of an average family, middle class. When I was in high school, my dream was to be a National Geographic photographer. I loved photography. Actually, my father introduced me to photography when I was about 9. And he was a huge enthusiast and was very passionate about it. And I'll never forget, he handed me his camera, his Nikon, and let me change the lens and explore in the backyard with it. And I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do. I want to take pictures. My dad had tons, stacks and stacks of National Geographic magazines. So I would study the photos, the people. I just saw adventure before me and a whole world that would open to me to be a photographer. Not only that, but I loved getting to know people, and I had this protection of the lens. In my 20s, I landed on advertising. I thought that was probably more practical than landing the job as a National Geographic photographer. Thought I could still shoot, I could still use my creative talents in that arena, and started my own firm. Loved it. I got to travel all over the world again. I got to hear people's stories. I got to photograph them. I got to film them. And so to a degree, I felt like I did get to live that National Geographic lifestyle, although it wasn't quite as adventurous around the world as I hoped. And it wasn't really until I met Tom and I started working along special operations that I felt like I got to check that box in some capacity. When I met Tom, he was telling me about these things called RMTs, Realistic Military Training Exercises. And I went on the first one with my camera and my gear. That first experience of going on an RMT and seeing it, I thought, this is my National Geographic moment. I'm literally filming guys right above my head, fast roping down out of a Black Hawk as explosions are going off and we're moving through cities. It was something I never even imagined I would see, nonetheless get to film. When I first started dating Tom, he is very charming, charismatic, funny. No one has ever made me laugh more than Tom, and I love to laugh. And he was a good time. He always was the guy, first guy at the bar, last guy to leave, the guy telling the jokes, the guy that everyone's kind of crowding around at the bar. And at work, it was the same way. Everyone respected him a ton, and when he went into work mode, I respected him a ton. He became very calm, kind of very quiet, and just held the respect of the room. And that's the version I fell in love with. But as we started dating, the PTS symptoms started to become more and more outward, and they became more visible. It was this Jekyll and Hyde type of personality, where one minute he'd be charming and funny and charismatic and loving and tender, and the next minute, literally, with the flip of a switch, he's violent, aggressive, mean, manipulative, and it was really confusing and frustrating. You know, for someone like me who has spent her life making herself small in order to avoid those kind of conflicts, being raised that way is always had taught me to retreat, to surrender. When I met Tom, I had gone through a phase of raising children and really was in major mom mode, and I didn't really drink at all. And then I started working along this world where drinking was not only acceptable, it was encouraged. And so I started drinking more. I started hanging out more at the bars, and it just kind of became a normal part of our relationship. And where it started becoming not normal is when he started lying about it and starting to hide it because it was excessive. But I had gotten in the habit of going, yep, let's go get a drink or two. Drink or two became 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And watching that was heartbreaking because I knew it was tanking him. Our wedding night was not like the typical wedding night that a girl dreams of. But we went out and we met up with some of the people that we worked with and some friends in Savannah and downtown, and the drinks just kept flowing. And when we got up to our room, he was in full anger mode. He was lashing out, he was throwing things across the room, screaming every kind of name, even had knocked me over a few times. And I think I maybe got an hour of sleep that night, and to the point where he woke up and I was sitting there looking at him. And I just said, I don't know if I can do this. I love you and I want to do this, but I don't know if I can. And I left on that Sunday morning knowing I wouldn't leave him, but knowing that if something didn't change immediately, like Monday, and I don't mean like his PTSD would be gone on Monday, but that he would take active steps on Monday, that I couldn't stay with someone who could hurt me.
Staring at the sky and looking at the gravel, and I'm aiming high, sitting in the shadows, looking for a love you missed is undercover. And even though I'm there, do you know it's hurting me as well? When you hide in that disguised future with me.
Monday morning, I got a call from Tom, and he said he had gotten an appointment, like had begged this therapist to fit him in. And I think literally that day, like that afternoon, he went and saw someone. The first thing I saw in him was a renewed hope in himself, that he trusted himself in a way that I hadn't really seen before. He was making better choices. And to this day, I think he's done 9 or 10 different types of therapies and treatments, which is necessary with complex PTSD. There's not one thing that can take care of all of it. I've been so proud of him for tackling each and every treatment, just like he's done everything in his career, 100% focus and dedication. And it was a beautiful thing to watch, his healing process. And you know, that's still continuing to this day.
He wasn't in a place where he really could get the help that he needed. The fog of the alcohol abuse, just improper decision making, and we didn't even know that it was an injury. We thought that this was a life sentence, something that Tom would have to live with and battle for the rest of his life. And while he'll never forget what happened in war, it's not like there's any treatment that can erase memories and take it all away. And I don't know that you would even want to. Would you? Would you want to erase your war past or memories?
No, I think that's just an excuse or another reason not to start getting help.
Right.
Self-assessment, self-awareness, something in my life I don't like, something I need to change.
Right.
Now, how do I change it? What time frame do I want to change by? And then start monitoring that, right?
But you had
That's
to become
growth,
aware.
progress, you'll fall back, but you have to have self-awareness. You have to be self-aware of the issues.
And desire to change.
And not say, well, I miss combat, I love combat, I'm built for combat. Okay, well, we're not in combat.
When I was working with special operations, they started noticing a difference in Tom. He had lost 65 pounds. He was, showing up to work in a much better place. You could even see it physically beyond the weight, just in his face, the way he carried himself. And people noticed, and they started asking, hey, what is Tom doing? And I would say, hey, have you ever heard about, transcendental meditation? No. Here's the website, check it out, And just started sharing resources with these guys. And really, the interesting thing is we would sit on these targets for hours and hours and hours, for days and days and weeks. And I just started getting to know the guys, started sharing their stories and opening up. And while I would hear about some combat trauma, that's not what was coming forward mostly. What was coming forward mostly was, I don't know how to be a good father. I don't know how to be a good husband. I do this job really, really well, and I'm trained for it. I have a manual for it, and I know what to do, and I've got the guy to my left and right that's going to help me if I don't know what to do. But when I go home, I'm all alone, and I don't have a manual, and I don't know what to do. It was in 2016 on the last exercise that I had done, the last RMT, and I pulled Tom aside and I said, I want to start a nonprofit because I frankly didn't want to send guys off to war anymore. I didn't want to watch it, I didn't want to participate in it. It was breaking my heart over and over and over again. Not just the loss that I was seeing, but truly seeing people come back different. People that I had seen rotation after rotation, and they were coming back different and different and different. 28 years old looking 48 years old, just in a matter of 3 years. And 2 divorces had gone by, and I thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't help our men and women go off to fight. I need to help them come home. Somebody has to help them come home. They deserve it, and so do their families.
What's the process? Monday, and they've been waiting how long?
She reached out to Buckman.
All Secure Foundation serves special operation warriors and their families in healing from complex PTS and secondary PTS. Nobody should have to battle this alone. It's no different than breaking your arm. If you break your arm, you're going to see a doctor, you're going to get treatment for it, and you're going to get better. And it's the exact same thing with PTS. When you have an injury due to trauma, treat it immediately, and you'll get better from it. The longer you wait, or shoving under the rug, doesn't work. It gets worse with time, not better. All Secure Foundation was founded from truly a hope that we can join families together, families that have been broken and torn apart by war. People look at us and they think, oh, it's America. We're not a war-torn country, but we absolutely are. It just looks a little bit different. If I could say anything to anyone who's watching today that may be hurting, reach out for help, number one. To a family member who's struggling, we're here for you as well. You don't have to go this alone.